The state is forking out some $9.5 billion to cover the cost of these refunds, set to reach the accounts of some 23 million Californians. Now, if you filed jointly, you could receive anywhere from $400 to just over $1,000. If you file independently, the checks range from $400 to $700. Now, the governor's office says this is the largest program of its kind in state.
Everybody mark these dates on your calendar. The lawmakers have officially announced new deposit dates as to when we can expect a second round of checks. As the inflation rate just continues to rise, many state officials and lawmakers are stepping up and taking action to get more inflation relief out to as many people as possible. This relief is likely to come in the form of a one-time payment, and Americans across the board are feeling the adverse side effects of inflation, with many of them slumping deeper into debt as a result. To help see taxpayers through these tough times, some states are providing relief. A few other states have already paid out stimulus for 2022. The Alaska governor has announced that $3,000 payments from the state's funds will be issued to qualifying Alaska residents. And those who filed by paper or requested a paper check began seeing checks in early October. The amount is larger than normal for residents because of the addition of a $650 energy relief check. Under the Colorado Cashback Relief Program, eligible residents received their payments. $750 for single filers and $1,500 for joint filers by the end of the month. Now, I know many of you are wondering whether your state or city does the same thing, and will they send out their own stimulus payments? Well, in California, residents who filed their taxes electronically will already get the stimulus money by the end of the month of October. And now those who filed paper checks will get it between this month and the middle of next month. Illinois sent out payments to $50 for those who made less than $200,000 in 2021. The state began issuing checks on September 12th, noting that it would take about 8 weeks to send all the checks to people who qualify. Republicans are also expected to take back the House majority in the midterm elections, and they're already signaling steps that they would take to try to solve inflation. The GOP would also have limited power with just the House majority. And even if the party takes back the Senate, it is unlikely to have a filibuster-proof majority. And President Biden's veto pen is another factor. Republicans have to compromise with the White House and Democrats to enact their own policies. Republicans have given signals about certain areas that they intend to focus on, though the specifics of their anti-inflation plans are slim. Republicans have also gone against trillions of dollars in Democratic-backed spending areas like stimulus checks and student loans. The party has made it clear its opposition to the American Rescue Plan, which was sent out by President Biden last year. And Republicans are becoming increasingly confident of their prospects of shaping government funding for fiscal year 2023. Raising the debt ceiling is likely to be a huge fight in Washington if the GOP takes back the House. And raising the debt ceiling has little direct effect on inflation. While government spending has some connection to inflation, the debt ceiling must be raised to account for past spending by Congress. Lawmakers cut a deal to raise the debt by around $2.5 trillion in December, days before the predicted default date. And the action allowed the U.S. to avoid default until next year. So Republicans can use the deadline as leverage in negotiations to send out stimulus payments. So the Biden administration is finally announcing their new action plan, everybody. This new plan will include several changes. It will impact the prices of necessities like gas, as millions of Americans continue to face the ongoing crisis. And the Biden administration plans to announce a release of oil from the strategic reserve in a bid to drive fuel prices down. And according to sources familiar with the plan, the White House will release 10 million to 15 million barrels from the reserve as part of an existing plan to release 180 million barrels of oil into the market throughout the year. There are about 15 million barrels remaining in the original release authorized by the White House. In a Twitter post, the White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain said in a statement that Biden will speak about gas prices very, very soon.
The other requirements, but it does qualify people, a business that has from 1 to 100 employees. So it's a little more open than the ViStar loan program, which was 2, which qualified businesses from 2 to 100 employees.
Right, so this would basically give businesses that are very, very small with only maybe 1 employee, as an example, the owner, an ability then to receive this funding. How much money are we talking about, and how quickly might they be able to get the money?
So it's $2,000, and the intent is that it's used for rent and mortgage costs because
the Democrats in Congress are working to pass President Biden's new spending bill in July Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are pushing to pass a new round of inflation relief checks, and some Republicans insist that relief checks should be approved. Democrats are currently racing to finalize a scaled-back economic spending package that salvages several portions of the $2 trillion budget reconciliation plan that failed to pass last year in December. But many experts insist that the effort largely rests with Joe Manchin. Chuck Schumer has also said that Democrats have about 3 months to reach some sort of compromise. Otherwise, everybody, they may lose the ability to pass the bill under a special legislative tactic that allows them to bypass a GOP filibuster in the Senate. And I know many of you are wondering what will be included in the updated version of the bill. Well, the bill will be narrower with the Build Back Better plan, passed by House Democrats last year. It's likely to center around measures to lower prescription prices and combat climate change, while also including other energy security programs sought by Manchin. It's also likely to include some tax increases that will be used to pay for new programs and reduce the deficit. Lawmakers also insist that for the new bill, including a new relief payment for Americans. Negotiations are also on health insurance. If you get your health insurance through the government health insurance marketplace, you may want to brace for higher premiums next year. Unless Congress takes action, everybody, enhanced premium subsidies that have been in place for 2 years will disappear after this year, and this will cause definitely some disruptions. Cynthia Cox, a vice president at the Kaiser Family Foundation and director of its Affordable Care Act program, told CNBC News that the default is that the expanded subsidies will expire at the end of the year. On average, premiums will go up more than 50%, but for some, it will be a lot more. Most enrollees, which include the self-employed and workers with no job health insurance, receive subsidies, which reduce what they pay in premiums. Some people also qualify for help with cost sharing, such as deductibles and copays on certain plans, depending on their income. Before the temporary changes to the calculation for subsidy eligibility, the aid was generally only available to households with income from 100% to 400% of the federal poverty level. The American Rescue Plan, which was signed into law in mid-March, removed the income cap and the amount that anyone pays for premiums during the time, it limited to 8.5% of their income as calculated by the exchange. An economist, Jason Furman, who led the Council of Economic Advisors under President Obama, told CNBC News that whatever Democrats do or don't do with this bill will affect the Federal Reserve, as it looks to rein in inflation. And for the last 6 months of the year, parents across the country received monthly checks. The expanded child tax credit lasted up to December 2021. It allowed for parents to receive up to $300 a month per kid, and the program helped keep millions of children fed and out of poverty, touching 35 million families. It lapsed in December after Republicans and Manchin prevented Congress from making the checks permanent.
Thank you, Mr. President. I could have no more done that when I was 12 years old than fly. I used to be a stutterer. I was scared to death. I would stand up and talk like that. And I can't tell you how proud I am of you. And your brother is equally as impressive as you are. He's standing there, he's sitting there 2 seats over. Shannon and Joshua, by the way, happy birthday, man. He's gonna be 13 years old, teenager in a couple days. I want you to know that lowering the cost of prescription